Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Stephanie and my husband and I are bringing you our journey through IVF to our first pregnancy, our marriage, and our faith. So today we are actually going to talk about how much all of the IVF actually cost us. So just keep in mind, this is just specifically related to us. Every doctor and clinic and couple is different. Because you have insurance, you might not have insurance, and some insurance is different, and all of the things. So this is just specifically related to us. All right, so I've got all the receipts. I've got my notes about how much everything cost, so we're ready. Something to keep in mind is that I'm just going to talk about all of the costs for our second round. So if you have not followed our story, this is actually our second round of doing an egg retrieval because we did one last year in like March of 2020 and it did not result in any normal embryos, so we ended up having to do this all again. I'm just going to talk about the second time that we've done it. So the first thing that we did, because we knew that we did not get any normal embryos from the first cycle, we actually did what they called a pre-genetic screening just on me first, and insurance did cover a piece of that, but that screening tested like 274, I believe, genetic things that I could have, that I could be a carrier for, or could be dominant in, or whatever the terminology is. So for us, that actually cost $1,613.12. That was our portion of what was covered. The egg retrieval itself. So the first two amounts that I'm going to talk about are my doctor's fee. It covered all of the labs and sonograms and doctor visits and all of that kind of stuff that led up into it. Because once you're in your IVF cycle where you're doing the egg retrieval piece, you have lots of doctor's visits, all the blood work, ultrasound, just checking to make sure everything is good. So this covered all of that, and it covered all of the labs. So, and they charge it in two different ways because like I said, one goes to the clinic and then one goes to the lab part. So they have to do it twice, or in two different transactions. So the first one was $4,700 even. And then the next one was $1,753.11. We also had to do a saline sonogram just to make sure, because it had been a year since we've done it. So just to make sure everything was good with me, no cysts, no polyps, no anything like that. That was $479.35. The anesthesia from the egg retrieval, my portion of it from insurance, was $484.50. And then the big one, the stim medications. Now, if you are beginning your journey and you are just kind of getting details and figuring things out of what to expect, the stim medications are the doozy because you need so much. So I was on the max protocol I was doing 150 IUs of Menopur, and then 300 IUs of Follistim, and then a little bit of Lupron. Again, I mentioned this in a different video, but if you are prescribed Follistim, check with your doctor and see if Gonal F, I am not a doctor, so check with yours, but check with them and see if they can swap that out for Gonal F, because I believe in my research that I did after the fact, which I made that mistake, but I believe that Gonal F is the generic or kind of off-brand of Follistim. I think they do the exact same thing, but Gonal F is cheaper. So double check that. If you do go with Follistim, just remember that those little vials that you get, they're about this big. And if you do 300, that's the max that they can put in that tube, but there's still a little bit left over at the bottom. Keep those vials and take them back to your doctor if you have to do it more, because they can extract that and put it into a syringe for you. So those are little tips that you need to know, because I ended up with extra, and that just makes me so mad because these things are so expensive. So our IVF stim medication cost was $4,676.95. That is just covering the egg retrieval part. That is the most expensive chunk of this. So once you get through that is like the first half, in my opinion. Once you get there and you have your embryos and you're ready to move forward into the frozen embryo part, that's a separate thing, and I'll go over that in just a second. But this is the big like meat and potatoes of where everything comes from, because there's so much lab work and with the endocrinologist and them having to put the sperm and the egg together and all of that. So that's where all of those fees come from. So the total was $12,093.91. That's already a huge chunk. That is with insurance that was covered, parts of it. The IVF stem medication is not covered under insurance, so that is all out of pocket. Just keep that in mind. I think I've heard some people say that their stems medications are covered. Count your blessings if you get it covered, because for the most part, I don't think that they cover those medications. Okay, so fast forward, now we're into the frozen embryo transfer part. This is not as expensive, so this was kind of a relief. So the base to start, again, to just monitor you, make sure everything is good. It covers all of those exams and any ultrasounds that you're doing and stuff like that. I got charged in 2 different transactions, but the total was $1,563.32. And then the medication. So for my doctor, again, the medication for this is just as different as it is for the egg retrieval. So usually you're going to be on some kind of estradiol or estrogen, and then you're also going to be on some kind of progesterone. So I was doing progesterone in oil shots, and I was doing estradiol pills 3 times a day. So I was a little scared to see how much the shots were going to be, knowing how expensive the stem medications were. So the estradiol pills, I mean, they're teeny tiny little blue pills, and that was costing, I ended up going through 3 of them because of the doses they do is pretty small, but those were $7.50. Super cheap in my opinion compared to everything else. It was super cheap. So we did that 3 times, so it was a total of $22.50. And then the progesterone and oil. So when I called to order these, I was like, oh God, how much is this gonna be? I can't remember now. It comes with 4 vials, and then just depending on what your protocol is for how much you're doing each day, I was doing 1.5 milliliters or units or whatever the measurement is. I was doing 1.5 every day. And so my little vial lasted probably 7-8 days-ish. So I ended up going through that twice, and every time it was $7.50. Yes, you heard that right, $7.50 compared to the $4,000 that we spent the first time. The little progesterone shots were only $7. So we did that twice, so that was 15 bucks. Yes, much cheaper. Again, that's just for me. I don't know if that was the same with, I never checked with my friends to see if that was the same with them. But so the total for our frozen embryo transfer that we just did was $1,600.82. Very different. Again, it's much cheaper once you get to the back half and you're doing the actual transfer part, because there's not as much of the medicine and the growing your ovaries and your eggs and all of that kind of stuff. So it's definitely different. So our total for the whole thing from retrieval to frozen embryo transfer was $15,307.85. Keep in mind, we have done this twice. That is very common to have to do it more than once. So bless all of us who had to do this, because this is not cheap and by any shape or form. And I've had family members that are like, oh, well, like, it's not that bad, right? Like, it's bad. Like, it's really bad. It's really, really expensive. And most of the time, like, most insurances don't cover this. And if they do, usually it's like this teeny tiny little piece, and which is terrible because so many people have to go through this. So I hope that this helps. If it did, make sure you give this video a big thumbs up. Click that little subscribe button to follow along on our journey. We did get success with our first frozen embryo transfer. I am pregnant with our first little baby. I just wanted to shed some light if you are beginning your first round of IVF and you're like, well, how much do I need to like plan for and do I think about? There are lots of different ways to pay for this. If you guys are interested to know how we paid for it, let me know down below in the comments. I'll be happy to share that. Going into the numbers and the money and all of that is like my wheelhouse. That is like my thing. And so I would be super excited to talk about that if that's something that you guys are interested in. But just keep in mind, there's grants, there's insurance, hopefully if you get it. There's always the good old cash. But yeah, there's lots of different things that you can do and look for and whatnot. So I'd be happy to talk about that. But I will talk to you guys next week. Just remember that I am praying for you. If I can pray any way for you this week, just let me know down below. And I hope you found this video helpful. Have a great week, guys. I will talk to you guys next Monday. Take care and God bless.